Is it true that only elven player characters can be high elves? What about the fact that gnomes have an advantage when fighting an ogre or a troll? That's insane. I'll clear this up and more details about these two races right after this. Hit that subscribe button and smack that bell. You'll get all my updates when they come out. And don't forget to leave a productive comment below. I remember my first elven character. He was fairly smart and nimble, but he lacked in the personal skills. And somehow he always got into bar fights, even when he was keeping to his party by the fire or sitting by himself quietly enjoying a meal in the corner. Didn't take long before I realized, it was the other patrons of the inn. It created this problem for me. Come to find out, dwarves and half-orcs really don't like being around elves. It's not a strong hatred, but they just generally don't prefer them. Now that we're ready, run over to that bookshelf. Grab your Player's Handbook and your Monster Manual. Flip to page 16 of that Player's Handbook. Here's where this part of this character puzzle will come together. Yes, it is true that most of the player characters in the game that are elves are high elves. This is primarily because high elves get along better with humans than the other elven races. By the way, half-elves are of a high elf-human union and have all the positive features and benefits of both races. I'll be doing a side-by-side comparison so we can better understand these two races together. Elves can progress to a fighter level of 7, magic user 11, and thief or assassin of 10, where half-elves progress to a cleric level 5, druid, fighter, magic user, and ranger 8, and thief or assassin of 11. Elves can multi-class as a fighter, magic user, fighter, thief, magic user, thief, or fighter, magic user, thief, where half-elves can multi-class as a cleric, fighter, cleric, ranger, cleric, magic user, a fighter, magic user, fighter, thief, magic user, thief, cleric, fighter, magic user, or a fighter, magic user, thief. Elves have a few armor restrictions when it comes to multi-class, except for when they're classing as thief. They're restricted to thieving armor and weapons. Half-elves, on the other hand, who have a cleric in their multi-class group, are not restricted in usable weapons, but are restricted in levels. Also, just as elves, half-elves are restricted when in the thief multi-class. Both elves and half-elves must evenly divide all experience points between their multi-class. No exceptions, even when at class cap. I'll go more into detail with that when I cover classes in a later video. And when it comes to racial benefits, elves have a 90% resistance to sleep and charm, where half-elves only have a 30% chance. That's a D10, a roll of 9 or less for elves, and a 3 or less for a half-elf. Elves and half-elves speak multiple languages besides Elven, Alignment, Common. They also speak Gnome, Halfling, Goblin, Hobgoblin, Orcish, and Gnoll. Elves can gain an additional language for every intelligence point at 16 or higher, where half-elves, they generally gain additional languages of 17 and higher. Both secret and concealed doors are hard to hide from elves and half-elves. When passing within 10 feet of a concealed door, they have a 1 in 6 chance of detecting it. That's a 1 on a d6. If actively searching, they have a 2 in 6 chance of seeing a secret door and a 3 in 6 chance of finding a concealed door. That's respectively a 1 through 2 on a d6 and a 1 through 3 on a d6. Both can see on the infrared spectrum up to 60 feet in the dark. Elves have a +1 to hit when they use a bow of any kind, crossbow, and long or short sword. If they're alone and not wearing metal armor of any kind, or 90 feet or more in front of a party, elves move so silently they can surprise any monster with a 66% chance of time. That's a 1 through 4 on a d6. Unless they come across a portal of some kind that has to be opened, then it's a 33% chance. That's a 1 to 2 on a d6. Elves have a bonus to their dexterity of +1 and a -1 to their constitution. On pages 39 and 40 of the Monster Manual, we can see all the elven races. Now, it's important to understand about the elven race, their abilities, their preferences, their general stock, not only as an NPC but as a player character. I personally do not subscribe to the High Elf as the sole elven playable race, although it would be stupid to place an aquatic elf in a desert campaign. I can't see that happening. Hopefully, when I'm done here describing the elven races, you'll agree with me that all elven races can add flavor to any party. Elves has a special connection with their natural surroundings and make their homes in secluded bodies of water, underground, meadows, the woods, or even dense forests. Aquatic elves are sometimes caught in nets and mistaken for other sea creatures because of their greenish silver skin and their green aquamarine hair. They have a special connection with dolphins. They use spears and tridents and nets as weapons. And they can swim right through seaweed without getting tangled up in it. I'd like to see you try that. The drow, or black elves, are the stuff of legend. They only exist in the deep subterranean realm, and are depicted as weak fighters, but very strong and powerful magic users. Now, grey elves, which are of higher nobility, are very powerful magic users, who isolate themselves in meadows, seldomly ever come in contact with humanoids of any kind, usually armored with chainmail, a shield, and all of them carry a sword. They use hippogriffs as their mounts, and they have either silver hair and amber eyes, or pale golden hair or violet eyes. Their garments are usually white, yellow, silver, gold. And they have cloaks of deep blue or purple. The wood elf, also called the Salvin elf, they're very reclusive. 75% of the time, they never come in contact with any other humanoid creatures. They're stronger than other elves, therefore they have a +1 to their strength bonus. But they're not as intelligent, so they have a -1. They wear either studded leather armor or ringmail, equip bows, short swords, and spears. They can speak Elvish, Treant, and certain woodland creature languages. Wood elves are fair complected with yellow to coppery red hair, light brown, green, or hazel eyes. They wear reds, russets, browns, tan clothing, usually green or greenish brown cloaks. We already went over the half-elves. As you can see, elves are of high intelligence, come from multiple surroundings, and are very versatile and adaptable creatures. Now, we're going to cover the gnomes. Gnomes usually live in rocky, rolling hills, wooded areas, places where humans don't live. Gnomes will progress to a fighter level 6, illusionist 7, a thief or assassin of 8. Gnomes may also multi-class as a fighter illusionist, a fighter thief, or an illusionist thief. They're restricted when multi-classing, just as the elves are, leather armor and thieves' weapons. And they must evenly divide all their points to their different classes. Just like their dwarven cousins, gnomes are resistant to magic. They gain a +1 for every 3.5 points of constitution. And they have bonuses for saving throws versus wands, stabs, rods, and spells as follows: a +1 at 4 constitution, a 2 at 7, a 3 at 11, a 4 at 14, and a 5 at 18. Besides gnomish alignment and common, gnomes also speak dwarvish, halfling, goblin, and kobold. They can also speak to woodland creatures that bury into the ground, like moles, badgers, and ground squirrels. Gnomes are exemplary miners, and they can see up to 60 feet on the infrared spectrum in the dark. They can also detect Greater slope, 80%. That's 1 through 8 on a D10. Unsafe ceilings, floors, and walls, 70% of the time. That's 1 through 7 on a D10. Approximate depth, 60%. That's a 1 through 6 on a D10. And detection of travel underground, so they can tell which way they're going, 50% of the time. A gnome character must state that they're actively seeking these for any chances to be applied. When fighting the following, gnomes gain a +1 to hit, kobolds and goblins. Whereas bugbears, gnolls, ogres, trolls, orc magi, and titans of all times have a -4 to hit a gnome. On page 46 of the Monster Manual, you'll see that gnomes are very similar to their dwarven cousins as well. They're usually armored with ringmail, and they have studded leather also, and use a shield. Normally you see a gnome armed with a short sword or short bow. It's not really unusual to see them carrying a spear, club, or sling though. Most gnomes are wood brown, and a few of them have a gray-brown color to them. Their hair is usually a medium to a pure white. Their eyes are gray-blue to a bright blue, and they wear leather and earth-tone clothing, and they love to wear jewelry. Gnomes sound like a shorter but more determined version of dwarves to me. You can find additional information about these races in the magazines that I mentioned in my previous video. Or you can check the 2nd edition books, the Complete Book of Elves, and the Complete Book of Gnomes and Halflings. Here's a bonus for all my subscribers who watched to the end of this video. Please make a 2-part comment below. Tell me what you thought about these playable races. Also, how many times did I say the word elves in this video? In the next video, we're going to look at halflings, half-orcs, and humans. Till then, this has been Rod with the Thaco Factor.